second of our series of road trip cornball souvenir cookbooks. And I've got the second one right here. And actually, I was really kind of, actually, I'll save that for the end. But I will tell you this. I did have a hard time picking out what we wanted to cook out of this one. Now, there is a little sticker on this one that says Souvenir of North Carolina Mountains. But they did go on vacation many times through North Carolina and into Tennessee. So let's go ahead. I got most of what we need right here to start cooking. And let's go ahead and explore this cookbook a little bit and see how it holds up.
Pause here to write down what you'll need to follow along. First, I went ahead and chopped up some onions. Now, the recipe calls for 1 medium, but since my garden onions were a little bit on the small side, I went ahead and added 3. Chop them up into small pieces, put them in a bowl, and set aside for later. Now you're going to chop up your bell pepper. You can use whatever color you want. I chose red because that's what I had on hand. So go ahead and chop them up about the same size as you did the onions. Also put in a bowl and set those aside. Now comes the tricky part for me. If you follow the recipe and you have 2 cups of canned tomatoes, you can skip this step entirely. Or if you're like me and you accidentally bought tomato sauce, then you'll have to come up with something different if you can't get to a grocery store in time. So I just happen to have some tomato plants in my garden, and I was lucky enough to have several ripe enough for me to pick. Here's where you're going to go ahead and melt your butter in a hot skillet. Add your bell pepper and then your onions, and go ahead and cook them until nice and soft. Now, I went ahead and used ground turkey, but by all means, if you prefer ground beef or even bison, go ahead and use that and it'll be just as good. I broke up the turkey meat a little bit and then let that saute until completely cooked through. Now here's the tricky part. If you are adding your own fresh tomatoes, I realized at this point that we're going to add uncooked rice to this dish and then bake it. But uncooked rice needs plenty of fluid, which you may not get if you use fresh tomatoes instead of the canned tomatoes. So I went ahead and added about a cup of liquid, thinking that along with the tomatoes would be able to cook the half a cup of rice. Now, after I added the tomatoes and tomato sauce and stirred that to mix, I went ahead and added the chili powder, the pepper, the rice, and the salt. Stir that up until thoroughly mixed, and then you're going to pour it into a greased baking dish. Now, this skillet is pretty heavy, especially when it's filled to the brim with food, as you see here, and so I actually had my husband come in to be able to tip it into the pan for me. Otherwise, I would have spilled this whole thing all over the counter, whereas Mitch only spilled just a little tiny bit. So after Mitch poured it in the pan for me, I went ahead and covered it with tin foil and then baked it at 350 degrees for about 45 minutes. And now, let's see how this recipe stacked up.
All right.
What we got?
Let's see if this is going to be a good dinner or if we're just eating salad this evening.
Try an old-timey.
All right, ready? I mean, it smells good.
Yeah.
You know what? This is weird. I just had the weirdest flashback memory. Like, you know how like when you eat something and you're like, I've had this before, but where did I have, so, and ironically, I thought that we were going to miss not having cheese on it. It kind of tastes like it has cheese in it.
Yeah,
but I don't know why.
It would be weird with cheese.
Yeah, but it kind of tastes like it's got like the umami flavor,
well, the tomatoes actually do a lot more of that, I think, than we give it credit for. It actually has a well-rounded flavor. Like, it's got a lot of, I don't know, like, it's hard to describe, but it's good. It's good, yeah. It's way better than I was expecting, honestly.
Me too. I mean, again, we're saying we're so surprised, but no, really, we are.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's really simple ingredients.
Right.
Which a lot of times those turn out to be the best ones anyway.
True.
And those are the kinds of recipes that you kind of see over and over and over again just because, it's a go-to staple that actually tastes good.
Yeah.
And for this one, I would say I would actually make this again.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
I mean, this is good.
It's
and then,
easy to make.
pair it with a salad.
Yeah.
And, you've got kind of a complete meal because you've got some vegetables. I mean, you could put, something else with it if you want to. But, I mean, it's got the rice.
Yeah, it's got...
And, you got your carbs and your
protein.
meats. And, yeah. So, I like it. But
Yeah.
I'm still going back to... I think I might have had this before. I mean, it's a familiar taste that's kind of like... I think I had this growing up as a kid. I think Mama might have made this, is what I'm thinking.
It's very reminiscent of, like, my mom used to make this, like, pasta dish we called goulash.
Oh my gosh, yes.
The flavor is very reminiscent of that.
Yes, and both my grandmother and mom has made goulash, while I was growing up plenty of times, you know? And... yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe she didn't make this specific one.
Instead of pasta.
Yeah.
But I think the flavor is still very reminiscent.
Yeah, it really is.
Of that.
So maybe Mama didn't make this exact one.
Yeah.
But she made a goulash. And maybe that's where I'm kind of like getting this like weird memory connection with it.
Like I said, it's good.
But it's excellent. Yeah. I mean, I really like it. And even me having to cheat a little bit because we didn't have like the canned tomatoes. Mm-hmm. I actually think it turned out
very good.
I don't see how it would have been better with the canned tomatoes. I think this was just as good.
Yeah.
So, if you've got like fresh tomatoes out of your garden, this would be a really good way of using some of them up. Yeah. I mean,
it's almost like it reminds me of a little bit of like a chili flavor too, almost.
Yeah, well, it's got chili powder in it.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, it kind of reminds me of like a chili casserole.
It's like a chili and a goulash and all just kind of wrapped into one.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what you got in it. No.
So, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and give this a 5.
Yeah.
Because the taste is excellent. Now I use ground turkey. I don't think you can tell a difference. I mean, you can use ground beef. I don't think anybody would know if you switched them, really. But it's quick. It's easy to throw together. It's more than likely ingredients that you're going to have on hand is some staples, especially if you have a summer garden.
Yeah.
And you're especially in it seems like the southern regions. We kind of tend to have the tomato, corn, and, bell peppers and onions kind of garden. We rotate that in. And so if you have those things in your garden, this would be a really good way of just kind of making a cool dish out of it. So, yeah, I would give this a 5. It's like, good. I can't think of anything wrong with it myself. As far as this little cookbook, so... I mentioned earlier, I had a hard time picking what we wanted to make out of it. And basically it boiled down to, I also wanted to have something that we could have for our supper, so I just went ahead and kind of stuck to the entrees section. But there's some really, really interesting recipes in here that you may see me rotating these in again if I ever get an excuse to pull this cookbook back out for the channel, because it is it's a very homemade cookbook. You can tell that people literally wrote this out and photocopied it. It's not, do you know what I mean? Like it's not like your typical typeset kind of cookbook.
Yeah.
And there were several people, there's some names connected to some of these recipes where women submitted them to the editor. And some of the women, and this was cool, some of them actually had some cookbooks from the 1890s. That's the recipes they submitted.
Oh, wow.
So I almost picked one of those recipes, but I kind of skewed towards, I want dinner because I'm hungry. But, I really kind of want to try one of the 1890s recipes just to see how good is it, you know? And
we might have to go back and visit.
Yeah, and some of these recipes I know I've recognized from like other older cookbooks, you know, just looking at historical cookbooks. So these women, they put some thought into this. This isn't just a thrown together souvenir cookbook made by some kind of publishing company for a quick buck in a tourist trap. The women did a good job on this. I mean, it's, you know, it's not fancy.
No.
There's no photographs. There's no, you know, but for 1977, you know, for a little cookbook kind of put together by a community, it's really cool.
Yeah.
So I will go ahead and put the description, as much of a description as I can with like the publishing company and the names and stuff like that. Hopefully you may be able to find this on eBay.
Yeah.
Now personally, I've not really come across it in my eBay haunts, but it doesn't mean to say that
nobody else.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I look for kind of specific, you know, niche cookbooks, and so I might not have expanded enough. But for $1.50, I mean, I would be more than happy. I mean, I am happy to have it in my collection. Yeah. But, you know, if I would have bought this for $1.50 and brought it home, I would have been really glad I picked it up.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give this a 5 too, for the thought and the care that went into the collecting of these particular recipes. And, you know, it's just called Old Timey Recipes. That's exactly what it is. But they're good ones.
Yeah.
And they're fun. And they're interesting. You know, so again, I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, I don't know if we're going to say that next week. But
we'll see.
Yep. So again, okay, Mama is 2 for 4.
Yeah.
So far. She's done really good so far. So is she going to keep that up next week? I have my doubts. And like I said, I've had, oh gosh, guys, the next cookbook, I've had such a hard time even finding something that we would want to eat, let alone you would want to make again. So I know, I don't know. We're going to
try.
We're going to do our best. We're going to pull it together. We're going to make something. But, and then the one after that, boy, do we have a lot to talk about on that one. Yeah. And of course, you know, for next week, we kind of have a lot to talk about the next, that one too, because it's a little, it's just a hair offensive. Yeah. It's just a hair. Yeah, but we'll get into that. But
yeah, cross that bridge.
We'll go. But as for this
one's good.
Excellent meal, excellent cookbook. If you can find it on eBay, I'd grab it. I can't imagine it'd be that much. But just know, just for, you know, for your own sake, if you're on eBay and a seller wants like, I don't know, $50 or something crazy for it, just know it was only $1.50 back in 1977, so you may want to skip on that one. Yeah. But thank you for watching this week. Really hope you try this because I think you'll like it. Yeah. And stay tuned for next week because hopefully you, I don't know. We'll see. We'll just see if we like that one. Yeah. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye.
If you like this video, make sure to hit the like button and hit the subscribe button for future videos. In the meantime, here are 2 videos you may enjoy. Thanks for watching.